Hello everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day here in Tennessee, and I just wanted to share some new things that are going on with my orchids, and I'm also going to answer some subscriber questions today. Let's start out with Vanda roots today. Here is my Mother's Day Vanda. Wow. Look at this root system. Yes, I have been fertilizing this with 1 teaspoon of 20-14-13 after I do that 24-hour soak with it every 5 days. And I've got lots of roots to show for it. Wow. And I thought I would give you an update on some of my moss phals. Here is my little star. Wow, this is amazing. This is amazing growth. Look at how much these roots have grown in this beautiful moss. I can even tell with this little intensity that's not even been in a week, this root has grown just in 5 days in this moss. That's amazing. I was asked, how do I choose which orchids need containers with holes, which ones don't need holes. These little pots, well, this is not a little pot. This is actually just a little drinking cup. But it's just about 3 inches in diameter, and I didn't have an orchid pot this small. And so I used this one. When you are watering your orchids in pots with no holes, like this, just make sure that later in the day, after you've watered it that morning, that you go back and make sure there's no water hanging around the bottom down here. Just make sure you drain it really, really well. That's the trick about these containers with no holes. Now this one is a 4-inch diameter, and this one is a regular orchid pot with the holes. The larger pots that you grow moss in do need the holes on the bottom. And also be aware, make sure that you have a wide opening at the top so that it's really, really easy for you to drain. Well, actually, I don't drain this. This one drains out the bottom. But when they are shaped like this, it gives the plant plenty of air circulation from the top and from the bottom. So like with this one, I'll come back later in the day and just make sure that there's no water standing, pooling at the bottom of this. That's the main difference. Plus, if you're going to use a pot that's more than, let's say, 3.5 or 4 inches in diameter, those are the ones that need the holes. This is my Cattleya, and she is in a 6-inch diameter pot, and she definitely needs the drainage holes on the bottom. This is an orchid pot as well, and as you know, this one has been in moss. I've grown it now for 11 years in moss. It's done fantastically well. And I know my friend Susan wants an update on Buddy Orchid as well. So here we go. Can't let her down. Here's that first root that I had when I first placed it in the moss. And here are the 2 that have been growing. That is some kind of root growth. And look here. Yes. So these roots just keep going and keep going. I was also going to give you a little tip. It's been really cool and damp here this week, and I noticed some white mold, a little bit of white mold growing on the top of some of my moss, and I was going to let you know how I deal with that. I'll just take a cotton swab and remove it. The other thing that you can do is I have moved these a little bit closer to the window. It's turning fall, so the sun's not coming through these windows quite as intensely as it did during the summer. So I'm giving the moss just a little bit more sunlight, and also I have my fan in my sunroom on high to give them some more air circulation. So that really helps keep that white mold down. So I keep moving things around so that they get as much sunlight as they can this time of the year. This is a really pretty sunny day. And as you see, I've just placed my miniatures and my other little phals right there in the window so they get better air circulation and a little bit more sunlight because they can take it this time of the year. They've become accustomed to being out in this room, so I want to give them a little bit more light after this dreary, rainy week. Now here are two of my water culture phals, and as you know, this one just continues to do well. The roots, look at the roots on this thing. It's just excellent growth. This lower root that you see here has finally reached the bottom. What I've been doing is I've been giving it 2 or 3 dry days in a week. What I do is I give it a wet day down in its water culture, then I take it out of its water culture the next day, replace it the next day. I have it on more of an every other day or every third day dry day, and it has grown. Wow, well, you can just see it has really, really grown. So I'm giving it more dry days during the week. Now, this one, on the other hand, I thought that I was going to be able to keep it in water culture. And last night I came out, I lifted it up out of its pot, and it had 3 rotten root tips. So guess what? It's going to go in moss today. I found these rotten root tips about 9 o'clock last night. And I was really tempted to just go ahead and get the moss out, and I thought, no. I was irritated at the rotten root tips. Yes, and just a word of advice. When you're irritated about something with your orchids, just walk away. There's nothing that can't keep until tomorrow. It's not good to work on them while you're irritated. So I thought, okay, this afternoon is going to be a pretty afternoon. I'm going to get the moss out on the back porch and just enjoy the sun, and we're going to have a nice moss party for this one today. And that brings me around to my next question that I'm asked really often on my channel. Should I place an orchid with no roots in water culture? I will give you my advice on that. I would not. I would place it in some moss. It gets the root system growing much quicker than a water culture situation would. With water culture, you're going to have issues with stem rot, and then you're placed in a position where you have to clean that stem really, really often. I've heard of people being able to get root growth with orchids that don't have any roots to start with in water culture, but I have never been successful with that. When I first started, when I placed this in moss, it had these little tiny roots up here, not what you're seeing down here. I was left with these little tiny roots up here, and I thought it wasn't going to make it. I just placed it in moss as a last-ditch effort, and you see what I've had. This is the growth I've had in 5 months in moss. So I would definitely suggest, if you have an orchid that doesn't have many roots or no roots, place that one in moss and get its root system growing quicker. It's going to save you a lot of time. Now what I'm showing you here is the new cane that is on my Dendrobium. Yes, it just appeared a few weeks ago. I thought that this one was done growing for the year, but indeed it tricked me. So I will continue to be watering this and fertilizing this with its regular amount of fertilizer, which these are up to about a teaspoon of 2014-13 in 1 gallon of 6.0 pH water every week. Now this one has been sitting beside of it the whole season, haven't moved it. This one has its terminal leaf on this cane. So this one's not going to be growing anymore for this season. So I'm going to be treating these two differently. This one doesn't get as much water now. Not that it doesn't get any water, but it's not going to be watered as much. And also I'm going to be reducing that fertilizer down probably by a quarter that much, probably about a quarter of a teaspoon. Not very much. Most of my dendrobiums have their terminal leaves on their canes. As you see, this one's terminal. You can tell because it's a little bit shorter than this one. And then there's some of them that have decided, nope, I'm not done growing yet, so I have to treat those as if they are just in full swing with their growing season. Now this is the dendrobium that I thought that I was going to lose because it just kind of all turned yellow, and I increased the amount of feed that I was giving it, and it's nice and green again, and it is growing again. But as you see, I still have these two new canes down here. They are not all the same. They don't grow at the same time, do they? We're all different too, so that's all right. They have their own personalities, just like we have our own personalities, so that's all right. I also wanted to show you this spike on my Norman's Miss Montclair. Okay, here it is, and it is 2 feet tall from the base to the tip. 2 feet tall on this spike. When this one blooms, it's going to be glorious. I cannot wait. And I wanted to just kind of show you the beautiful blooms on these two gorgeous phals. When this one blooms, it's going to be white, and this table's going to really it's going to be really pretty. So I just wanted to share with you what was going on in my collection today, and you all be highly favored, deeply loved, and greatly blessed. And we'll talk to you next time.